Hello and welcome to Heavy Metal Rex. My name is Wace, and today I wanted to take some time to talk about something really cool, and that is the ETS Turbo Kit for our 2022 WRX. Now, before we jump into that, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. As you can see behind me on my shelf right there, I actually ended up putting the Aeroflow Dyanmics lip because I didn't know where else to put it. It's actually a pretty large piece, and I'm running out of space. And so, since I haven't got a whole lot of things from you guys, which brings me to my second thing, this shelf is designed if you have any kind of cool Subaru memorabilia, metal memorabilia like music, or even like just weirdo things, if you want to send them to me, I'd be more than happy to put them on my shelf. I've actually had one of my subscribers send this. This is from Aaron. It's actually pretty cool. It's a white WRX. I actually haven't even seen this Fast and the Furious yet, so I never even knew this was in there. So that's actually the first item I was able to put on my shelf. The second one I put on myself, and if you have anything else, definitely send it over. Third thing I want to talk about is I can't do what I do without you guys watching and without the support of everybody out there, whether it's on Facebook, on Reddit, on Snapchat, TikTok, literally everywhere I go. And so people have been asking for actually 2-3 months now if I was ever going to have merch. I finally was able to figure out how to do it. And I have a website where you guys, if you want to, you can purchase some of the merch I have. We've got t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies. The stickers I actually have here in the house, and I will send those stickers to you myself. Everything else is built on order, so they ship it out whenever you build it. So if you want to support the channel, it definitely helps me out. Otherwise, you don't really have to. You can still enjoy everything I do without spending a cent. Anyway, I want to jump into this ETS stuff because there's a lot of cool stuff here to talk about. So a couple of months ago, I'd say maybe a month and a half ago, ETS started teasing that they were going to be coming out with a turbo kit for the 22 WRX. Now this is very exciting because up until this time, I think some people have talked about what is a hybrid turbo, which is just boring out the compressor wheel a little bit more, I believe. And the only other known turbo upgrade was, a couple of years ago, which was the first FA24 that was tuned over at Perrin Motoring, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. Now, there's tons of options here. You have a lot of different turbo options that you can pick from. But what's interesting, and this is the question I had, is here's a turbo kit. What parts is it compatible with that people have already purchased? Like, for example, if you already had a J-pipe from any company and you already have an intake from any company, what are your options? Now, unfortunately, if you've done that, it looks like those parts will no longer be functional with this particular kit. Now, of course, if you haven't bought anything and you're just now getting into tuning a 22 WRX, this is a great option because it comes with your J-pipe, it comes with your intake. It does not come with an intercooler. Now, if you do this with a stock intercooler, I'd be very interested to see what kind of results you get. But they do recommend getting it front mount. Obviously, you're going to put a bigger turbo. It does come with headers. The great thing about the G-Series turbo, this is what Graham was talking about, was it does utilize the factory electronic wastegate, which is really nice. Now, the intake, the reason why you can't use the intake is the intake that comes in this kit is an inch bigger. It's a 4-inch tube, which is crazy. And the J-pipe actually has a completely different flange. So if you look at this flange right here, actually it doesn't even have a flange. I believe it's a V-band. If you look at this J-pipe versus this is their actual J-pipe that has the 3-bolt flange. So you're not really going to be able to use it unless maybe cut it and put a V-band well. I don't know. I don't even know if that's possible. But these are some things that you need to be mindful about. Now, at $6,400, obviously, this isn't going to be something every weekend warrior is going to go out and buy. It is cool to see that it is available and seeing different shops do what they're doing with it. And that's pushing the car is the biggest benefit for this kit being out because we start getting to see what can this engine take, what can the rods take. And now we're going to jump back to the FA24 that was done by Perrin Motoring a couple of years ago. This was back in 2019. There was this big project that was going on. Somebody got a FA24 engine and swapped it into a Crosstrek with a lot of other options. I believe it had an STI transmission. It was upgraded with a FP Blue XR turbo, Killer B headers, Cobb intake, Cobb front mount intercooler, Cobb electronic boost controller, Cobb flex fuel kit, and a J-pipe. So pretty much every bolt-on you could have gotten at that time onto the FA24. And they did like 500 horsepower. Now, of course, their issue was they also ran out of fuel. Now, that's something that's happening today as well. Graham also mentioned that. There's going to have to figure out a way to get more fuel into this, but the engine can handle it, and looks like having a turbo upgrade does make the car pretty happy. Now, they claim they did about 40-50 runs on this, on the dyno, doing all kinds of weirdo stuff. And this is a stock engine, stock blocks, stock rods, and it handled it very well, which is very exciting. Now, fast forward to what we have today, and we'll look at two companies that I've been able to find. I've actually been trying to find Prime Motoring today and Mike Body today, but for whatever reason, I can't find the results for them. So I only have two to share for you today, but they're still really interesting results. So we'll start with Felix Performance, and actually, you know what? Let me go to their Facebook page instead, because I want to show here we go. So here's what they've got. They did use the 770 G30 770 with a mix of E38 ethanol. They made about 550 horsepower. That is a crazy number. Let me pull up the actual dyno chart. So here's the dyno chart. This is a crazy amount of power for this car. They obviously do have an upgraded clutch. I cannot remember if they have the STI swap. I think they may have. Don't quote me on that. But still, 550 horsepower from this 2.4, with an upgraded turbo and, not a super aggressive ethanol blend. Now, they do mention that they went up to E50 and they ran into some fueling issues, which everybody's going to run into that. The car is only direct injected, and so there's going to be some limitations to that. Still, that is an incredible number to have. So you see something like this, a car making 550 horsepower, and now you're wanting to tune. Now, remember, by stock, this makes somewhere between 250 and 260. That's what it makes stock, right? And so if you're worried about getting a tune for your car and you land somewhere at like 330, 340, you're probably going to be okay, right? I know that's what everybody's hesitation is. Subarus blow up, whatever. I really don't see this happening with this engine. So that's Felix. It's great. Anthony is a great tuner. This is incredible information to have. And, they definitely push these cars. Now, next I want to look at TPG Tuning, who I think they actually have their Facebook as well. Here it is. They also use the G30 770, and I believe Graham was actually tuning this car, which is very exciting because now he also has hands-on experience in case I ever get one. They made about 466, and actually they went a little bit higher. This was on 93. So they made 466 wheel horsepower on 93. So that's pretty crazy. So even without using ethanol, which I know some people have mentioned and not having a lot of ethanol in their area, that's still pretty crazy. 466 wheel horsepower, 400 pound-foot of torque on 22 psi. They've got the front mount. They've got obviously a J-pipe, and it doesn't say anything about the. I would imagine. Oh yeah, they got the turbo kit, so obviously they've got the intake as well. That makes sense. Now they did go a step further because on their Instagram they had posted that they did some extra funky stuff. They recently had a trip over to the drag strip to try and get really fast times. I think they were trying to hit 11 seconds. And they had a nitrous kit on there. So what they ended up using, and I'm going to read this is their words. They said, so we kept the bottle off and activated the solenoids and boost, spraying additional fuel only through the fuel jet of the nitrous kit. With this, they were able to bring up the ethanol content to E50, and they made about 526 horsepower and 461 pound-foot of torque, which is still a lot. Something to remember, these cars are in different areas. They've been through different things. Numbers will sometimes fluctuate or whatever, but still, these cars are hitting over 500 horsepower, and that in itself is crazy. They're hitting 500, and they're not blowing up, at least not yet, right? So this is what's going to be the most interesting testing out of all of this, is seeing where these cars land. Right now, I'd say most bolt-ons people are getting, if you're sticking to 93, you're probably somewhere between 330 and 350. With ethanol, a little bit closer to 400, which is still a great number for a daily car. Now, 500 and above, you're getting to it's still a good daily, but now you're getting into a lot of power. And sometimes, maybe more like 600-700. Sometimes these are harder to be daily cars. Now, I know some of you will say, oh, no, I drive my 1,000 horsepower daily car every day. And that's fine. But for most people, I think, I would say for most people, getting this car to 400 is like the sweet spot. I think you will have the car last long enough and still have a lot of power that you can, mess around with people on the road and not feel like you're going to lose all the time. This is incredible information. I'm so happy that this is out. I'm happy that people are testing it. I actually look forward. I hope in the future that my car can finally get to a point where I can put one of these on, because hell, I would love to have a crazy amount of horsepower, but we'll see how it goes. I will keep an eye on everything that's happening. Obviously, most of the stuff gets posted on Facebook, and I do sit on Facebook a lot. We have a lot of different Subaru groups on there, obviously Reddit as well. If you guys hear of any other people or other shops doing some of this work, definitely let me know, because this is exciting information. We want to try and collect it and just kind of follow along and see where this car lands, because I'm really excited. I know you guys are really excited. Thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.